it is very difficult to sign and impeach a president. You know, when you sign an impeachment complaint against a president, you can lose everything. Historically, the Speaker has always been subservient to the President.
Yes.
Wala pa sa buong history ng Pilipinas. Puro ang Speaker, ano yan, alay ng Presidente yan, parating sumusunod lang sa Presidente. I'm very proud to say that during my time, the House was independent. In fact, I think that that's the only time in our history that the House showed its independence from the office of the President. And yun, ibang-iba, sabi ko nga doon sa trial, it's 100 times more difficult. Kasi pagka sangayon ka sa Presidente na mag-impeach, well, alam mo na, sinasabi nga ni Congressman Chanco, totoo naman yun. May mga ganon, ano? Mga benefits, etc. But pagka pipirma ka laban sa isang Pangulo, ang equivalent dyan, halimbawa, mag-i-impeach ka kay Presidente Pinoy.
Yes.
That is the equivalent. It's gonna be tough.
So if you compare both of them, what do you see lacking in this one?
Ang bilis ito 2 days lang ito 2 hours na sign na lahat And maraming congressman nagsasabi na hindi nila nabasa. Hindi nila nabasa yung complaint. And pila-pila yung signing, sinabi sa kanila yung issue, pirmahan na. Yung sa kay Presidente Estrada, 1 month yun If you recall, nagsimula yan sa Senate. May investigation nun. Sunod-sunod yung investigation na yun. So, pinag-uusapan talaga sa media. And then, the impeachment complaint was filed. There were 2 hearings by the Justice Committee of the House. 2 hearings. So, and then, dumadami na yung pumipirma.
Pero at some point, you were also accused of railroading it, right?
No, the railroading then, number one, I have to say also, wala pang rules noon. Walang precedents noon. Unlike ngayon, mas may precedent na, kaya mas maayos na ngayon Pero noon, wala pa. Also, the Constitution is very clear. Pag meron ng 1/3, wala ng ministerial na lang ang sa Speaker. Third, yung pagkuha ng signature, which is the substance of the impeachment complaint, hindi naman yun ni-railroad. Ang ni-railroad lang, yung pag-deliver sa, kung meron mga railroading, I don't think there was any railroading. Yung pag-deliver ng impeachment complaint na signed na, hindi naman kasi, wala na yun. Kumbaga, messenger na lang yun
To the Senate.
Messenger na lang yun. Ang pinakamahirap dyan, yung pagpirma. Pero ibang-iba, Maria, ibang-iba. Noon talaga, natanggal kami sa trabaho. Natanggal ako pagka-speaker, natanggal yung mga pumirma doon, natanggal sa mga pwesto nila, sa chairmanship ng
Nagalit ba ho kayo kay Senator Jinggoy?
Hindi naman. I just felt that I had to explain it. It was nothing personal noon. Parang naisip ko lang na oras na rin para malaman ng tao. Kasi ang laki ng sinacrifice namin noon parang natitrivialize naman masyado. Ang laki naman ng nirisk namin doon na noong time na yun, I gave up the speakership, I gave up, and then hindi ka naman sigurado noon na magpapalit ang presidente. And, siyempre, nakakatakot din yan. So, ako naman, I'm very proud to say na independent ako nung speaker ako. Independent din ako ng Senate President ko. I know na when I ran for president, I was accused by Villar, etc. But no, when I was Senate President, talagang kine-question ko mga moves ni President Arroyo mas sa Supreme Court many times. Kaya I have never been an ally of President Arroyo when I was Senate President.
When you were Senate President, you were actually pushed out by the Enrile bloc.
By GMA.
And now you have the Senate President. You have Enrile as President.
I don't think he could have pushed me without the blessings of the President. Dead. I firmly believe that it was GMA.
You also mentioned the run for the presidency. First of all, thank you for coming and speaking. I think this is the first time you were actually talking politics after the 2010 presidential campaign.
Yeah, first time kasi I don't look at myself as a politician now. I'll be retiring in 1.5 years, so hindi na ako mahilig sa mga interviews.
Well, this is one of the things I want to ask.
But you're friends, so okay lang.
Ay, salap. Well, sir, what did, I guess this was a tough campaign, the 2010 presidential elections, and you started it early, you were there, you had it planned. What lessons did you learn from that election campaign?
Well, maraming lessons yan. No? But I have to mention that I started as number 7.
Yeah.
Then naging number 1 ako.
Yeah.
And then, President Cory died. Ibagsak na naman ako sa 0 almost. And halos tapos na election nun at that time. But anyway, sabi ko na lang, might as well run, and nandyan na yan eh. Kung talo, talo. But I was able to move up to first place again.
Yes.
Very briefly. And then, the third time, wala na. But, importante ang media.
Yes.
Importante ang media. Kailangan walang bias ang media. And I have to say this, bias talaga ang media nun. Yung mga issues naman raised against me, like hindi ako mahirap. Nagtinda ako talaga ng isda sa palengke. I was born in Tondo. Nagtinda yung nanay ko ng isda sa palengke. Bakit naman ako magtitinda ng isda sa palengke nang hindi ako, nang mayaman pala ako? And yet, nalagay ng media na parang napalabas na hindi daw ako mahirap. Villar daw ako. My wife even voted for her impeachment sa Congress. And pag tingnan mo history na relationship namin ni President Arroyo, hindi naman kami talaga. In fact, nung matanggal na ako ng presidente ng Senado, hindi naman kami pa nag-uusap noon eh, since then. Years before election, before 2010, hindi pa kami nag-uusap ni GMA. Kaya, that to me is also an unfair accusation. So yung Villaroyo, yung hindi ako mahirap, paano na-invento yun? I mean, parang dahil sa media na nabuo yun, and yet talagang malaking kasinungalingan yan. Even the C5 issue, I've been explaining na wala namang masama doon, na hindi akin yun. Wala naman akong ginawang masama doon, nung kinuhang pera doon. It was a legitimate project. Sabi ko nga, mas malaki pa yung Hacienda Luisita ron, 10 times. I'm not saying it is not a legitimate project. It is, in fact. Dahil wala namang masama sa ganun. I'm just saying that if C5 is wrong, then Hacienda Luisita is wrong. But, no, pinalaki naman yon. So, pagka nakita mo yung mga ganyan mga issues, na nagsama-sama, parang napapaya kayo pamilya ko, no? Parang, ano ba nangyari? Parang napakasama akong tao. Bigaw, parang nagsisinungaling ako, hindi pala ako mahirap. Ano pala ako, bata daw ako ni GMA. Sabi ko, sa history ng politics ko, since I entered politics, walang makakapagsabi na bata niya ako. Sabihin mo na lahat ng mga past presidents. None of them can say, bata ako si Manny. I've always been independent.
In that campaign, how much did you lose? Both?
Well, ang pinakamalaking loss sa akin yung name. Yung pera, madali yung pera eh. Sinasabi ko naman, hindi ko naman dinideny na may pera ako eh. And na-irritate nga ako noon. Minsan i-interview ako, haba-haba na interview ko. The last question, paano nyo babawiin yung ginastos nyo? Ang tapos lalabas sa TV, yung huling tanong na paano nyo babawiin yung ginastos nyo? Na wala na yung iba kong sinabi. But anyway, no. As a matter of fact now, wala na yun. Nabawi ko na. Through business. Kasi kumikita naman yung business ko. And I'm very proud to say na that's where I get my wealth. That's where I get my money. Wala sa politics.
And you disappeared for a long time.
Well, alam mo, normally yun. Pagka masyadong ang isang presidential campaign, Maria, talagang very exhausting yan. Talagang, you normally will give it your best shot. You'll give it everything you've got. And so, pagka natapos na, tahimik ka na. Ayaw mo na. In fact, that's what happened to almost. Iba sila Danding, sila Jody B, yung mga natalo noong araw, sila Mitra, President, mga bigla nawala sila sa limelight.
Yes.
Normally, gusto mo na lang manahimik eh. Ayaw mo na magulo. And ako, ganyan din ako. Although I continued my work sa foundation, in fact, my wife and I started devoting a lot more time now sa foundation namin. Si Cynthia.
The lessons again, I mean, what does, go after everything you've been through, how would you describe politics in the Philippines?
Well, alam mo, Maria, malalim yan, no? Kasi meron akong konting sentimiento sa establishment. Talagang hindi na makakaawa na mahirap sa atin eh. paulit-ulit yan. The very same families, sila na sila yan eh. Mag-ama, magpinsan, magkapatid. Parang ganun na lang. The same families have been running our country for the past 50 to 100 years. And that's why we have not moved forward. And this will continue.
But Senator Villar, some people would include your family in that. Your wife is a former congresswoman.
Ako pa lang ang nag-build up ng whatever we have now. My father, hindi naman. My mother, hindi naman. I cannot say na meron kami national figure na related sa akin. No, I don't think so. I mean, sa akin manggagaling. Like my wife, maybe was a congresswoman, my son. But hindi yung pamilya. Hindi naman sikat ang Villar eh. Hindi yung kamukha yung father mo, gano'n. No, I'm not saying masama yan. Maaari sa darating na panahon, may dumating na maganda yan. But I'm saying na pagtingin mo may mas malalim na kadahilanan, kaya lipunan natin na hindi na makaabante. Kaya mahirap talagang pahirap ng pahirap. Kasi, alambawa, nagagamit natin yan yung minsan yung anti-corruption drive. These are very, very good objectives.
Yes.
But we should not forget yung paring yung poverty. Kasi sa tingin ko, yan talaga ang problema natin and hindi naman tayo basta-basta makakaon because when we fight corruption, we have to make it sustainable.
Yes.
We have kasi otherwise pag wala economic development, you can't sustain it.
Are you more cynical about?
I must say that after the elections, I became more cynical. But no, I resist that temptation. I always want to be idealistic, and I have not lost hope. I've not. No, hindi pa naman. No, I'm still very hopeful, and I would like to think I'm still idealistic, and I'm sana mag-succeed si Presidente. I wish him well. Sana mag-succeed siya for the sake of our people na naghihirap sa ngayon.
Do you consider yourself opposition largely because you ran against the president? Is that?
Hindi naman ako nakikialam na. So I cannot say I'm with the opposition, but neither can I say I am with the administration. Gusto ko sana maging irrelevant na ako. But I'm just saying that...
You're only one of the senator judges who determine where this all goes.
But I'm saying that right now, what we need is an alternative, not an opposition. And of course, alternative using the democratic processes,
Yes.
not alternative na extra constitutional. I'm just saying that right now, that's what I noticed that kasi ang opposition nagiging GMA eh, and,
Yes.
And she's very popular. Kaya parang if you criticize the president, then you are GMA. But to be fair, I think it's time also for an alternative. Hindi ako yun, sinasabi ko lang.
Yes.
I'm not saying this because I'm not. I'm
It's good.
I'm out of
want to
it.
hear
I'm
it.
just saying that maybe maganda naman din may alternative na lumabas na hindi GMA.
Yes.
Kasi parang ngayon, if you oppose, GMA ka. It's not fair. I mean, there are people who have legitimate complaints or grievances or objections to the administration, but they cannot say anything because they will be accused of, arroyo ka. But that's not fair. For a healthy democracy, we need an alternative, legitimate opposition.
Is the Nacionalista Party, is that still a bloc? I mean,
It is, we have 4 senators, we have 30 congressmen, we have 10 governors, and we have about 200 mayors. But let me just be clear, we're not opposing the president, we're just saying that we are an alternative. We have our own economic program, and medyo umiiba yung economic program namin sa Pangulo. But then again, he is the president, so yung policies niya dapat masunod. We understand that. We're just saying that we have an alternative. economic program.
Well, you said 4 senators under that. Will we expect the NP senators to vote together?
We are
as a
very
bloc?
close. We're not necessarily saying that we will have to vote on our own.
Yes.
But what I can say is that we are very close. We see each other almost every day, every week. And we have meetings, and as much as possible, we want to vote together. But I think for something as important as this, even I as president, I would tell them that you follow your conscience.
Yes. Well, let me ask you, sir, about that. This impeachment now, I mean, you talk very passionately about the Estrada impeachment, but the Corona impeachment trial, what is at stake for the country in this one?
You know, my problem there is that if I give you an answer, it might give some clues as to how I will vote. Mm-hmm. But I think the president is sincere in pursuing his fight against corruption. As to whether removing Corona
Yes.
will be a big step towards that, as what he's claiming is something that we have to decide.
Yes. Well, what if you give me a scenario, either or scenario, in this scenario, because there are 2 choices that will happen. What is at stake for this country? What will happen?
Let me just say that those who will vote for the acquittal, will probably will have the view that we are moving towards a presidential control of our institutions.
Yes.
The House, the judiciary, the Senate, the local governments, the executive departments. That would be the view of those who will acquit Corona. Those who will convict CJ Corona will side with the president. It's political, and will assume that this is very important in his fight against corruption.
Do you think the business community has taken sides on this? I mean, is either outcome preferable?
The business community, they always play safe. They will always side with the president, even if they're complaining. They will. They don't want the president to know, for example, that they're complaining. They always would be on the safe side.
I'm going to have to start taking questions from social media because they're flooding in, but
Sure.
I just want to ask you a last question before we go to the social media. It's 2013. You said a year and a half before your second term at the Senate.
My term will expire.
What's going to happen next? What do you see
Well,
next?
I don't know. Right, the only thing I'm sure of is that I will be very busy with the Villar Foundation. My wife and I are very busy, and we're really expanding the Villar Foundation. It has branched out. Dati ano lang kami, mga building houses, etc. for the poor. Now, livelihood, etc. My wife has incorporated her water lily projects, etc. and river cleaning, my environmental projects. So we have combined all of these activities. So we will be very active there. But in politics, my son is a congressman, and he will run for re-election. I don't know yet. Some people are asking my wife to run for the Senate, but I don't know yet. I don't know what her decision would be. I've always respected my wife.
Yes.
And I've always viewed her as an equal. And some people don't believe it, but she can decide to run if she wants to run. And siya mag-decide na. Of course, he will be asking for my view. And but if you ask me, she's very competent.
She's seen as very politically astute. At times, more political,
Yes.
from a more political family.
Palagay ko, mas magaling pa sa akin yan.
Ganun ba ho? Let me read some questions that's coming in on social media. Question from I Am Not Alfred. If he was elected president, what would he have done opposite to what the current administration is doing?
I will have to hit the ground running. That is something that I've always said, and I would have tried to maintain the GDP growth rate. Poverty would have been the centerpiece of my administration. I've always felt that we need to maintain a 7 to 8% GDP growth for 6 years continuously to reduce significantly poverty. When you choose this line, this objective, it does not mean that you will have to forgo fighting corruption.
Yeah.
I think that they can be done simultaneously. But I'm not saying this because I'm criticizing the present administration. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I have the experience to do it, and perhaps the present administration has a different approach, but I would have done it that way. That's poverty is the centerpiece, economic growth, and I feel that when you fight corruption, it can be sustained better if you're growing at 7 to 8% GDP growth, if you have that kind of growth.
Would you have, this is another question coming in from social media, would you have allowed GMA to have left if you had been elected president?
No. To me, it might have been earlier. Ang tagal ka eh.
Oh.
No, to me, I've always said I would have let justice take its course. Kung yun naman ang takbo talaga ng justice, hindi naman ako, it's really nothing personal. But kung yun naman ang desisyon ng, okay lang yun.
You talked about the economy. How is Vista Land doing?
It's okay, doing very well. Very, very well. In the past 2 years, tinulungan ko rin naman yung mga anak ko dahil to forget about the loss. Siyempre, I spend time with my children. They're managing the Vista Land. And wow, it's dramatic changes have happened in the company. And we're very competitive now. And we are determined to be the leader in the industry now. And everybody else is everybody in the group is thinking along that line that we will be the number one.
Another question coming in from social media, Senator Villar, is what do you consider your biggest legacy to the nation right now?
It's hard to say. Having been a speaker, a Senate president, presidentiable, it's a businessman. Maybe you have to specify whether in politics or
through all of it. Ang dami nga. I mean, you are in a unique position now.
How? I don't think so. I mean, I'm just
I would say in
politician
terms of
who lost.
insight into the way things really work. You know, I mean,
I know a lot about the problems of the country, and there are a lot. We must confront these problems squarely now. Squarely. There are many problems, and I would be talking further. I would be
Let me help
very
you.
critical. So I will have to stop there. I will just say that we do have a lot of problems, and but I offered my services, and it's fair that I was turned down, and I have to accept that. And so, wala naman ako sama na loob doon. In fact, at least it removed any guilt. Whatever I do now, I know that I did offer my services to the people, and so wala naman akong problem. Some people are very selfish. They think they can help. They don't want to offer the services. I did. So now, okay naman ako whatever I do. Even though I can go back to business and not feel guilty about it because I offered my services, I can go back to politics. But politics, what else will I do? I mean, I have experience being Speaker, Senate President, and a presidential. It is perhaps destiny. And to be fair with our President, he probably did not really plan for it, and it just came, and that's his destiny, so I can respect that.
You wanted to change things when you were running. You talked about an anti-corruption drive now, but watching the impeachment trial, at least for me, it seems to show how difficult it is to really, for one, what we're seeing is the mindset of people.
It is not just the mindset, it's the system. It is the system. There's it's everywhere. We have allowed the system to exist.
And we accept it.
and we accept it. And we have refused to do things that must be done to change it. For example, when we talk about the salaries of government officials, president's salary, if I'm not mistaken, is 60,000.
Yes.
35,000, justices 40,000, something like that.
Yes.
It's how? And then you expect these people to be honest. I mean, I know that they should be honest and they should not be, but somehow the system has created all of these things. But my problem is that if everybody in the system does it, and then you pinpoint somebody, that is difficult. That might be persecution.
Well, you know what's strange right now is social media is actually saying, "Ba't nga si Corona? Ba't siya lang?" And you know the response seems to be because he is the one impeached right now, right?
Yeah.
But what is the sentiment? I mean, if everyone is doing it, how do you look at that?
It's malalim yan, Maria. It's I don't think we can answer that in 30 minutes or 1 hour.
Yes.
It's the system. And hindi lamang sistema yan, parang babalik tayo dun sa yung well, I don't want to yung mga classes, but yung mga talaga naman nagpapatakbo ng bansa natin, yung konting pamilya lang talaga.
Pero ang hirap din no, we heard, for example, that the Chief Justice's pay is, what he actually takes home is 4 times what is written, 21 million versus 5 million. I know I can't bring you to that, but so let me throw another question to you from social
Well, I'm just
media.
saying that kung ano man yung income na yun, must be the income of all justices.
Of all justices.
And all the justices before them.
Yes. So
Because-
is this like the military conversion where
Yes.
it's accepted practice, but it's not
I
necessarily
don't want to speak for
right?
the judiciary.
Yes.
And, but it's logical to assume that.
So but I guess the question is accepted practice right when it's on the spot?
It's wrong, but that's why you have to change it. But I'm just saying, your problem is how to change it.
Yes.
But if you want to change it by pinpointing 1 or 2, that is that could be right, that could be wrong. I don't know. That's why I want to listen to the trial.
It is going to be an incredible few weeks left. Nursenko, a question here for Senator Villar from Nursenko. Would you have filed similar cases to the Arroyos?
Oh yes, maybe even earlier.
It seemed like there was a delay.
2 years now.
We were actually getting onto a good thing. Any other questions from the social media? Otherwise, I'll follow back up. Let me ask you again back to that. So how do you change the system when it can be seen as persecuting one man?
Let me talk about why I feel that a strong economic growth can change a lot of things, and the only sustainable approach. Because when there's an improvement in the economic conditions, then more and more we can give more salaries, higher salaries to people,
Yes.
to government employees, and we can improve services. More people will pay taxes, etc., etc., and we can provide more employment. More taxes will be paid to our government. There will be a lot more income, and you know, in fact, if you look at the history of countries, you will see na pagka nakaka-develop na, dumadali na yung fight against corruption. Kasi mas well-paid na mga judges, well-paid na yung military, well-paid na yung police, better paid na yung mga employees. Now, I'm not saying that you should give up and dahil walang increase. No, I'm just saying that it's extremely difficult pagka when you talk about these things and then you don't give a single peso increase.
Pero ang nangyari naman, let's take it to say the United States, when in the age of industrialization happened, right? And we have similar situation as us. They had robber barons, they had the mafia then, the time of Al Capone in New York. And what they did was law enforcement was the one that came in. I mean, is that...
Magsasabayan na yan eh. Like the police will be better paid, better equipped. For example, yung mga Al Capone yan, the mga judges will be better paid. I'm just saying that, I'm not saying that because wala na and we will stop. No, I'm as a matter of fact, I think the president is doing the right thing, going after these people and fighting corruption. I can say I'm with him on this fight. I'm just saying that what makes this difficult is that this is not accompanied by salary increases and better equipments and yun mga ganyan mga bagay talaga napakahirap. Kaya and the only way you can address this is through a much higher level of economic growth. And if you look at history, halos lahat naman ng dumaan dyan yung mga countries na natin dumaan dyan. For example, GMA is not the first president jailed in the Philippines.
That's true. Yeah. Well, let me ask you, throw another question at you from social media, from JB Cancella. What is Senator Villar's position on government's plan to close down embassies and consulates?
Well, I want to know the objective, kasi I've always felt that we should have a Department of OFWs. Now, remember this, I am not saying we should add one more department. I'm saying that we should review all of our departments now, alisin na natin yung mga irrelevant, and then yung mga tao doon, ilipat natin sa bagong agency that would be more relevant. For example, when you talk about tourism, we have a department for tourism. That's very important. But, magkano lang dollar ang pinapasok sa atin ng tourism, and ilang tao lamang ang tourist natin. Mga 3 million lang yan.
Yes.
So, but ilan ang OFWs? 10 million and $20 billion. So, in terms of importance, malaki-laki ng OFW. And yet, we don't have a department of OFWs. Now, if yung closing these embassies, yung budget na pupunta sa pag-expand ng mga embassies in areas where there are more Filipinos, then I would support that. But kung dadalhin na naman sa iba naman dadalhin, hindi ako support that.
Let me ask you something that you said earlier about the economy and spurring an anti-corruption campaign at the same time. Would you say that part of what actually stopped economic growth last year was the government's focus on anti-corruption campaign? I mean, the pump priming didn't happen because it was looking over all of the contracts.
Maria, I would rather not comment on that. As I said, I'd rather think of the alternative rather than the opposition.
You also said it took you decided to take, the biggest loss for you was your name.
Yes, definitely up to now, diyan masama loob ko talaga. Kasi hindi naman totoo talaga yun eh. And it's not fair. Yung, for example, some people were saying, I'm corrupt. How could I possibly be corrupt? I have been telling people where I got my money. I was building homes. And I did a couple of IPOs where I raised my money. That's where I got my wealth. I can explain my wealth to even yung mga prosecution. I can explain. And business nga lang explanation.
Yes.
And hindi yung sa salaries, hindi yung sa mga ganun, no. And sinasabi ko naman talaga yan, wala lang nakikinig.
Well, let me throw a question to you from Pia Ontiveros. If Senator Manny could do one great thing for the country, even if he isn't president, what would it be?
It's tough. It's tough because here, clearly, you need the president to do radical reform because sometimes even the president is not enough. So kung hindi ka presidente, mahirap talaga. If you're just one of the senators, if you're just one of the businessmen, and if you're just one of the... but right, kaya ako ang gagawin ko na lamang sa aking foundation and think of something big. I am thinking of something big. I don't know yet, but I'm thinking along something that I will be remembered for na sa more on the social na lang. Kasi reforms, you cannot do reforms if you're not part of the government.
Yes.
And even the president will have a hard time. I have to tell you that, and I can understand the difficulty that our president is facing. Talagang mabigat itong mga problema na to change the system is tough. And that's why I'm not saying na ang presidente hindi magaling or hindi. No, I'm not saying that because mabigat talaga. Mahirap itong mga, to change the system is tough, very tough. Now, What will I do? A single thing? No, I don't think I
Yeah.
have a magic wand. We will just have to do our share and see how far it goes.
I'll throw you one last question on the impeachment, and then I know we have to go. The 2013 elections. I mean, among the senators, when you're speaking amongst yourselves, how big of a factor will that be in terms of how the
2013
vote?
elections?
Yes. In terms of how the vote does
Well,
it impact?
Maria, maraming factors yan. Number one would be sentiments of the people, political affiliation, maraming factors yan. And
It is seen as a political process, though, this
it's a
impeachment,
political
right?
process. Yung sasabihin mo na maganda yung defense, maganda yung prosecution. Yes, but still, hindi yan ang magiging basis. Political ang magiging basis. So even if the prosecution will fail to establish a case against the Chief Justice, it won't necessarily mean that he will be acquitted.
I'll give you the last words. Any last words?
No, to me, I just want this trial to be viewed as fair. I don't know how this will end, whether we will acquit or convict the Chief Justice. If we convict the Chief Justice, I hope that we will not look back to this day or to this time and say that it's our fault. That's why our institutions were destroyed. But on the other hand, if we acquit and the Supreme Court remains to be assuming they're biased, and then we won't be blaming ourselves because we had the chance and we didn't do it. But what I want to happen is that gusto ko makatulog sa gabi, can sleep every night thinking that we gave it our best shot. We tried to be fair, and sana yung decision namin will be good for the country. Parehong may fear yan either way. To quit or to convict. Like in my first impeachment, I didn't know how history will judge me. I didn't know. Right now, I do not know how history will judge the Senate. I hope maganda.
Well, thank you so much for coming tonight, Senator Villar. That is Talk Thursday, March 15th. Visit Rappler.com and tell us how you feel on our mood meter. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.